Hello, my people. This is Parma, and you're listening to The Long Yak. This is the fifth one and possibly the longest one yet. So, returning listeners, you know the drill. There are timestamps below to help you navigate this episode and find the dramas that you most want to hear talked about. To new listeners, we are so grateful you decided to stop by. We hope you stick with us and we can welcome you to many more episodes in the future. And now, without further ado, let's get into the yak.
Hey everyone, this is Chae.
This is Anissa.
This is Parma. And before we get into discussing dramas, we wanted to thank our listeners, Oros1115 and Juan Valdez, for leaving really nice reviews for us on iTunes.
Thank you!
Yes, we're so happy and overcome by emotions.
We're really grateful that you guys took the time to leave reviews for us, and it means a lot to us.
And on that happy note... Sorry.
Onwards to Secretary Kim.
Yes, another thing that makes us very happy.
So happy. It's everything that we hoped for. Like everything that I had wished for in the last yak came true. It's kind of insane.
So you are both up to date, which is 6 episodes, right? I've only watched 2.5.
Oh, how much can we talk about it if you've only watched that much?
Let's do our best.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Because I'm going to come in with a little bit of... And you know what? I'm going to let Barma take this first, and then I'll say what I think.
So I'm not going to do a synopsis on this thing. I mean, if you guys are not watching What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, then just turn your drama-loving cards back in because you don't deserve it. It's so good, guys. The romance is good, but let's not even get to the romance. It's just the character development. The first episode kind of blew me away. They established Park Seo-joon's character. It's Lee Young-jun, right? Yeah, Lee Young-jun and Park Min-young's character, which is Kim Mi-so, or as she keeps confusing herself with Kim Bi-so, which means Secretary Kim. And these two are amazingly fleshed out characters. I mean, yes, Lee Young-jun's character is essentially the arrogant genius chaebol. We have seen these characters before. But somehow we also haven't seen his character before. He seems like an insensitive narcissist, and he is an insensitive narcissist. But he also has the ability to learn from his mistakes, and he's not a jerk, which is such a huge thing. He's not a jerk. And Kim Mi-so is, I have so many quotes by her, stuff that she said. She's been put in corners, and she's faced these situations where people are saying stuff to her, and she could have reacted by being embarrassed or, I don't know, coy, shy. Instead, she just comes back with these amazing retorts that I'm going to frame at some point and hang in my room just as inspiration. That's what I want to grow up to be. So clearly I'm fangirling.
I do love the way that you can see her put on her secretary face. She has this enormous megawatt smile, which is totally plastic. And it comes down and you're like, ooh, you're in trouble. And I really love that beat where it's in the very first episode, she's signing her name. And she, like you said, she writes Kim Bi-so instead of Kim Mi-so. It's it's such a striking and effective way of showing how, who her character is. That she's so internalized in this state of being Secretary Kim that her own identity is kind of lost inside that. So immediately this is about Kim Bi-so becoming Kim Mi-so. It was such a great tiny scene, but a really fantastic one.
That's a brilliant way of putting it. That's basically the best synopsis of this drama. It's about Kim Bi-so trying to be Kim Mi-so again.
And I really liked how the whole episode 1, there's this suspense of he doesn't know why she's quitting. She hasn't really told anybody why she's quitting. And then she's, they kind of build up to the reveal of why she wants to leave. And, and then she was writing that letter to her successor saying the most important thing and also the reason I'm leaving. And then you keep the answer keeps getting pulled away from you. And then when you find out, that's the reason, that she wants to find out who she is and like take her life back. But then when she tells that to him, finally he's like, that's it? For that reason?
Like he just doesn't get it.
He doesn't get it at all. And it's such a great illustration of who he is and who she's been in his life. And it's really interesting to me that we're coming in at this point in their relationship where she's quitting. Like, we didn't start out, at the beginning.
Like it's 9 years into their relationship.
Yeah. So that's definitely very interesting. I was remembering like what we were talking about during the last yak. Barma, you were saying you're hoping that this will, while still keeping that without, because we were saying we wish that they had flipped the genders, but I really agree with you. Like, now that I've seen it, I like that they kept the genders because it keeps that, the tension of the different power dynamics and all of that. And then it's like, well, how would you actually deal with that? How would a heroine who has self-confidence and who's smart and who, wants to live her own life and is not a doormat, how would she deal with this situation? And like, she's awesome. I love her.
It also, like, you assume, like, when you're first presented these characters and, like, he's got his, like, aura and he's perfect. And it sets up this idea that he's perfect on his own. But as you keep watching, actually, his perfection is kind of like the outward perfection is a result of her diligence and attentions. And like he comes to realize how indispensable she is once she's gone. And I love that part where, but you get both of their perspectives. You're not getting this just from Misa's perspective. You're getting it. Like, when she's saying to him, I need to go and find myself, like, I haven't lived this whole last 9 years. And he's like, that last 9 years, that was nothing to you. And that shocks him, because for him it was everything. But, like, having to reframe that entire relationship is when he, what she slowly sort of reveals to him, and he begins to understand, like, that, like you're talking about, that power differential, that he never ever thought about the fact that she couldn't say no to him. There's that moment where he tells her, I don't know if you've got to this yet, Anissa, so I'm worried about spoiling you.
Actually, there's a moment that I want to talk about that I'm thinking it might be the same one.
When he says, if you had said no, I wouldn't have told you to do it. Right, yeah, so that moment. And, like, she never knew she could say no.
That's not what he says exactly. He says...
Oh, he said you never said no.
Exactly.
And that's why...
And there's a slight difference in the phrasing, because he can't fathom that. He never thought that he was being insensitive or that he was overburdening her. He just thought that she could
just say no if she wanted to. But she knows that she's not allowed to say no as part of her job. Like, whatever he says, she has to do it because that's her job.
But that's also not what I got from their dynamic. One of the things that I really like about their relationship is that she talks back to him. She tells him when he's wrong. And that's been true, like, from the very first episode. It's just that she panders to him, his ego, yes, but to a point after which she corrects him. And it's really nice to watch that. And she says that at one point, that she tried to become the perfect secretary because she didn't want to be a burden to him. She realized that she was underqualified for the position when he hired her 9 years ago, and she was making mistakes, but he was still giving her a chance. She was so grateful for it, and she needed the job so badly that she decided then and there that she'll never be a burden to him. So in her head, not being a burden to him means exceeding his expectations. And that's what she's always done for years now. And that's the habit that they've fallen into at this point. It's this rut that they've gotten into relationship-wise.
Right. But also what we saw in that sort of the progression of their relationship over the 9 years is that they grew together. Like, she was inexperienced, but he was kind of like, he was, this softer, younger, more mellow person as well.
He was mellow. It's just that he was
not mellow. He was more vulnerable. Like he didn't have such a high, such a wall around him. But like you could see that there were, that he tried to understand her, and then they fell into this routine of once they'd landed on this perfect routine. It was like they'd, reached the highest level of secretary boss relationship possible.
At least
and
in
then
his
it
mind.
became that rut. Yeah.
And her mind, I don't think she ever wanted anything different. Like in her head, she didn't want a different relationship with him. She just wanted to retire when she was done paying off the family debt that she was under.
No, to go back to, you know how you were saying that moment, like they're texting each other actually, and he's like, "You never told me no," and then like I think and then he kind of realizes that she maybe was doing that, like she didn't really want to do all of that, or like he realizes how much he asked of her, and then the next morning, he's like remembering that time that she put the tie on for him, which I think we saw from her perspective the night before. So we see their perspective of that memory, you know, where she like gets upset when they go to the US for that business trip, and then she kind of blows up at him for criticizing her, but then he gives her another chance, and then she comes in the next morning, like after teaching herself how to tie the tie, and she puts it on him, and then like that becomes part of what they do.
Yeah.
And what for me was like the most moving about that whole sequence is when she comes in to work. He comes into work, he doesn't even say hi to her, but she notices that he's not wearing a tie, and she takes in a tie, and he's like, just leave it. And then he says, I just realized that really simple thing that everyone else knows, that you can't get what you want all the time. And I was just like, oh. And then she's also, you can tell, like, she's kind of like taken aback and emotional, but he's like, you can go now. And she's like, staring at his back for a while, and then she leaves. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm in. Yeah. I'm all in. So.
And what I like about this drama a lot, like if you watched a few more episodes, you realize this, that every time an assumption is declared, someone assumes something about a character. For instance, right before the scene that you talked about, where he says that you can't have what you want, a few scenes earlier, Kim Mi-so's elder sister was sort of discussing this situation with her, where her boss doesn't want her to leave her job, and he's doing all sorts of weird things to keep her, like proposing to her. And Miso's like, what is going on with him? And the elder sister's like, he's possessive of you. Like he's the kind of guy who always gets what he wants. So it's that assumption that she makes, and just a few scenes later, we see that he comes and he realizes, and he comes to the realization on his own and very quickly. So that's not like a set trait of his character. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he is incapable of realizing that he can only manipulate her up to a point and no further.
The interesting thing, yeah, you are. And the interesting thing about him is the more you get to know him and see him, the more you realize that his I'm perfect and smart and, everyone is like pales in comparison to me. He's partly like actually believes that, and he's very full of himself because of his position in life. But it's also partly a mask so that he never has to show his real feelings. Like when he takes her to that, the date or whatever, or the farewell gift that he's pretending that he's giving her when he takes her to the
what did
the
he
amusement
call
park.
The
blockbuster. The curse of the blockbuster.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right. But he
Which is actually a brilliant idea.
It really is.
Which I haven't seen that yet. I just saw them like saying goodbye and him being like, the blockbuster is about to start. I don't know what it's gonna be, but
you're gonna enjoy it.
Okay, but when they're I'm looking forward to it. When they're sitting at dinner and he like cuts up her meat and stuff, and then they start talking about like themselves as children, because she talks about how like, her childhood apartment building was there, and they built the amusement park, and she was like, so what were you like at that age, age 9, when when she was young too? And he's like, of course that was perfect and excellent and better than everybody else. And they kind of both laugh. They both laugh like it's a joke. And then he's like, but I wasn't that happy back then. So like I feel like part of it is just his way of protecting himself from being vulnerable to anybody else. It's not all. Yeah. He's self-aware enough to realize that it's partly a front. And now he's willing to show that in front of her, which I think he's starting to show that in front of her.
I think to an extent he'd always shown that to her. He just hadn't told her actual anecdotes from his past. So like she doesn't actually know about his relationship with his you haven't reached that part, damn it. Okay, Anisa, I want to do a bit of speculating about something that has happened in the recent episode. Could you duck out for like a minute and we'll call you back in?
Okay, but also like let's just warn our listeners, because this is a pretty new drama, right? And we've been keeping things or we were going to try to keep things spoiler free. I guess we're not doing that anymore, but
we look, this we're not gonna completely ruin anything, but it's a speculation, and we're not, probably not even going to do deep dives on this. So where else will I talk about this?
Okay, I'm sorry. just it's fine. Go ahead. I'll just message me in the chat when you're done talking about it.
Okay, it's just gonna take 2 minutes. Okay.
Attention listeners, the next 2.5 minutes are extremely spoilery for anybody who has not watched episode 4 and beyond. Please make good use of your forward button.
Okay, diving back in. Saya, so you watched that, right?
I did.
Okay, cool. So we thought that there was going to be this entire childhood secret connection thing, which I thought was going to completely ruin the present day relationship. And just when you start assuming that her oppa is Youngjun, she finds out that it's actually his older brother Sangyun.
I have my own theory here.
I also have my own theory.
Okay, so when they first,
please stop.
you can, but just we rewind a moment?
Okay, yeah.
So you know that part where she first has the flashback, and the kid says his name and it's E, and then the next syllable you can't hear it, but you see his mouth move. I initially lip read that as Young, without remembering the character's name. So yeah, go on to your theory. It's probably the same as mine.
Exactly, it can't be anything else, right? Like I genuinely think it was most likely it was Youngjun who got kidnapped, but his older brother was the one who had taken him to the amusement park, left him there, and run off. And for some reason, Sangyun, his older brother, had developed some kind of a psychological trauma after his younger brother got kidnapped. And maybe to save the older brother, the parents pressured the younger brother to pretend that whatever narrative Sangyun had sort of built up in his head is the actual narrative, just to sort of like maintain his sanity. So that's my thing. Like, he's protecting his older brother, and that's why he resents his older brother so much, and why his older brother resents him.
And that's why he says that among the people who can't say whatever it was that Miso said to him, you can't say this to me, and my brother can't.
You can't call me. Yeah.
Your theory makes much more sense. Mine was not as elaborate as that, but mine was just
tell
that.
Me, what was the theory?
Mine is much more simple. That it is Youngjun, and that despite what we saw in Miso's apparent flashback, that's her unreliable memory. And yeah, that for some reason he's hiding the fact that it's him. And also there was the Kyokage. You know, the little dog plushie. I love the way he... Anissa, come back. We're done with speculating.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, so we're talking about the plushies. Yeah. I love the plushies. You know, the Sugo head
song.
God. And the... Oh, you haven't got... There's another one coming out. It was so... It's just... You know, I love getting these jokes. Yeah.
Okay, guys, but did you notice that when he was picking up those dolls from the claw machine, there was a snail house plushie there from Because It's My First Life?
Oh, it didn't, you know.
It was there, and I was like, I had just watched Because It's My First Life.
Is it the same writer or the same director?
Yeah, it's the same director. Thank God, not the same writer though. Wait, I shouldn't have said that.
Oh, now we know what you think. I think you're not alone, because that's what I think too. Okay, I think that Anissa, do you have any last words to add on Secretary Kim? Because we kind of have spent forever on it.
My only words are that I am so excited to watch more, and I love these two together, and yay.
I do have one downer comment on this though. Although before the downer comments, I want to add.
I also have a downer comment, but go ahead.
How is that possible? What are you doing to me?
Silence. I have a couple of other remarks I just want to make. So, Itaewon, why are you trying to sell me him as Park Seo-joon's older brother? Don't, with his baby face. But also, doesn't he really remind you? When he first came out, I was like, Je-hoon? No, he looks too young. You know,
I haven't seen the older brother yet.
Oh right. Yeah, okay, let's not talk about that then. But yeah, he's not old enough to be Park Seo-joon's older brother, but he does resemble.
I don't know why they do that. Yeah.
But also the funniest character is always what's his name? Kang Kyung. I love him.
He's amazing. His reactions, he's basically the audience surrogate, right? And his reactions are our reactions. And they're
This is
priceless.
his best friend who's also the president, right?
Yeah.
Park Ji-sik, yeah.
I love him.
He's so funny.
He's always so good at everything.
All
oh
of
my
his
God.
scenes, I rewatch them. I just rewind them and rewatch them because they're so funny, and you're like, his expressions are the best.
Yeah, he's like,
so
you
good.
what? You proposed to her, and then he starts laughing like a maniac. And then he's like staring at him with this glare, and he's like, no, of course you would have
The
that
show
reaction.
has an amazing cast of side characters. I can't think of a single one that I don't want on screen. I
Oh
want
no,
all of them on
there
screen.
is one I really don't like. Oh gosh, I can't remember what. Hwang Bora. You know, Bong
Oh, I like
Sarah,
her. She's
one with the curly. Oh no, I
yeah,
really
yeah,
don't like
yeah.
her.
Bong Sarah.
Yeah, she's. I
Who
really
does
don't
she
like her
play?
character.
She plays
The
Bong Sarah. She plays the
other
excessively
secretary.
melodramatic office worker.
Yeah, but she's just
The one who wanted
she's,
the secretary position, and
right.
now she's
She's
being
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
over exaggerated, and I don't feel like there's any like. She's just
It's also
annoying.
yeah, it's a point. It seems to be a pointless character.
Yeah,
that
like
just
a
takes up
totally
so many
pointless
time.
character.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, you're like, well, most of the secretaries, I don't understand the stories, but then it all comes together. But she's still this character that I just don't want to hear whenever she's on screen. Just like, oh, please be quiet. And because she's not like that's not like her natural character. She's obviously, you know.
Also, yeah, and am I mistaken in thinking that this the new character Kim Ji-a, the new secretary, wasn't she the scandalous love interest from Fight My Way?
Yes.
Of the
She was
the best
oh
friend.
my God, that's
Yeah.
that's
the
where
girl
I've
who was
seen
in
her.
pink. Yeah, and the one who he like almost cheated on his
Yeah.
Oh.
That's
sweet
her.
The one he
girlfriend with.
emotionally
Yeah.
cheated on
Right.
Sora
Park
with.
Seo-joon's best friend. I can't remember his name now, but
Yeah.
Yeah, neither can I. I can
that
just
is
remember
her.
Sora.
yeah, that's her, right? That's
She's
an
quite
interesting.
a nice character here.
She's cute.
Yeah.
She's very cute.
And she doesn't seem to have any underlying menace, which I really appreciate because the whole, like office sort of like female bitchiness is just really overdone. I like that her
Really
character
is.
is pretty straightforward. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. My
Well,
only down.
Oh,
My only
sorry.
downer?
Go on,
Do
say
you
that
have?
sentence
Oh,
again.
you still have to share your downer?
I haven't actually said my downer yet.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But there's more.
Sorry, but do you want to go first?
Go ahead.
I can. Okay.
Go ahead, Saya.
Slightly sort of downer comment is that as it's getting on, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of momentum in it. Like, as individual scenes, everything is great, but like as a coherent whole, it feels like it's lacking a bit of tension and. Like, I'm enjoying it. I enjoy watching all of it, but I do feel like it could be more tight and a bit more, like, upping the tension. I don't know. Don't murder me,
No.
please, Forma. She's
don't
about
think
to.
it's
She's
really
about to
bad.
murder me.
Just diss my perfect drama.
Sorry.
Oh. Maybe you're gonna have a problem with what I'm gonna say too then, because maybe I'm wrong, but I'm like I'm like a third of the way through episode 3, and like I really hate when there's a childhood connection between the leads. That's one of my really.
That's cool. That's cool. Like you can have that.
I
You
mean,
can have that
I mean, they haven't come out and said it, but it's pretty obvious, and I'm just like, why?
And that. Oh, actually, I don't know if we can say this part with Anise listening, but never mind. We already discussed it in the spoiler part.
Yeah, we already discussed it, and when Anissa listens to this yak, she'll know what we discussed.
Exactly, because she'll be caught up by then.
I'll commiserate.
I think we need to move on to the next drama now.
Yeah, let's go.
What's next?
Walk of Love.
Okay.
Let's go to Walk of Love next.
Yes, Walk of Love, which I have not watched. Sorry.
Oh, what?
Go on, guys. You guys go.
That's been preempted this week for the World Cup, so I'm kind of in a hazy memory land of what's actually happened, but I'm still loving it. It's still completely cute and insane, and poor Jung-hyuk.
I'm only like I've just begun episode 14, but I also have pretty much the same feelings. It's weird because when I'm watching it, it's so crazy and so funny and so interesting, and like I don't want to stop. And then like when I go away from it, I kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
I
kind of just want the three of them to live happily forever. And, Jung-hyuk is just like Hyung, and he's like their godfather. And the other two are just his little herd. I just want them to be happy forever. I really like his character in this.
It's weird because I'm not really now that I know that my OTP is not happening.
You're not invested
between
anymore.
our lonely gangster and our poor jilted bride. I just am not invested in the romance anymore. I just want them to like be happy in whatever way.
I'm invested in their kind of three-way love connection that is not romantic, but just this three-way family, because all three of them like need family so badly.
That's right.
And yeah, I just want them to be happy
Doesn't
forever.
Jung-seok already have one
Oh
in
yeah,
the
she
drama?
does.
Like his
That's
entire
true. That is true.
The gangster
crew is the gangster crew.
Well, technically speaking, the only person who's completely alone then is like Mung, but then yeah, no, but like I can't talk anymore because I've become completely incoherent.
I know what you mean. She also has a family that cares about her.
But they're so
Even
like
if some of them
lost.
are
It's like it's not about
Yeah.
it's not about whether you like have a physical existence of family, but that kind of emotional loneliness that the three of them have. And actually, like to be honest, like Pung's character, I'm not as attached to or drawn in by as the other two. And those two is like they're so magnetic, and like every interaction they have with every character is just so like rich. So
You can't see me, but I'm nodding because I agree so much.
So yeah, it's all about the relationships in this show.
I think what is not like I really like it. I think what's keeping me from being like giddy over the moon about this show is that even though it's kind of a 3-lead drama, but Pung seems to be kind of the center of the whole story and to be the hero, and like he's fine. And like I love Junho, but it's not, I don't know. I'm not like as 100% all in with him as I am with the other two. And I'm not sure what it is.
I'm sorry, the guy is like so solely disadvantaged when he was cast right next to Jung-hyuk. It's just so unfair for him. Poor boy.
Yeah.
He had no chance of standing
especially because he's such a generic, like angsty genius who has fallen on hard times, and he's like a grumpy chef. Yeah, he's like very shouty. And then on the other hand, you have Jung-hyuk, who's like extremely weird, super nice, hilarious, so charismatic. He has that little thing where like he only takes his sunglasses off when he wants to be sincere. He's like head over heels in love with the hair. Like it's just there's no competition.
There really is.
And then he has like this little group of like younger guys that are like following him around and worship all the time.
And all the people he takes under his wing. And then like he takes Pung under his wing, and Pung calls him Hyung on his own. Like they don't have to force him. He genuinely recognizes this this Hyung is like he's like what is it called? He's like gold. And like usually they'd be beaten into showing respect, but he doesn't. He recognizes his worth immediately. And that part,
the whole breakfast scene where they exchange, like he washes his hair and then he makes him breakfast, then he calls him Hyung and then he leaves. I was just like, oh.
and that part, like a bit later, I don't know if you've got to this yet, but when he finally trying to say this in Korean, when he confesses to oh gosh, what's her name? Jung Young's
character. I haven't
seen
that part yet.
Oh,
no,
and he.
I'm not there yet.
Is it gonna be too It is a spoiler. Except we know it's coming.
I mean, I already know he likes her.
Okay,
yeah,
so he says, okay. I like you, but as much as I like you, I like Hyung. So I'm gonna. This is as far as I'm going. So it's like his like for the two of them competes. It's competing, and he actually makes that choice, like for Hyung's sake. So he's a marshmallow. He's all spiky on the outside, but he's a complete marshmallow on the inside.
Okay, so you're saying I'll love him more as it progresses, I guess.
You won't. I mean, I still agree that he's not the same level of drawing you in as the other two, but he's definitely a great character. Not at the same level.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving on.
Is that a good place to leave it? Yeah. Let's move on.
Yeah. And I want to talk about Are You Human 2?
Tell
I
us about this, because I haven't watched it
I
yet.
just started watching. Yeah, I just started watching it. I'm just into, I think, the second hour. I think I've watched like hour and a half because they have those, the single hour being split into two episode format with this one. So it's a little confusing. So, and at this point, like, do you guys know the basic premise of the drama? Like, you know the story, right? Okay, cool. So Namshin, the robot, at this point has gone and replaced Namshin, the human, and he's trying to adjust to that world. But it just, I from the very first episode, they have been pulling my heartstrings so damn hard. I can tell already that I'm going to get super. I'm already super attached to Namshin. And by the way, we were making fun of So Kang-jun in the last yak.
I wasn't, Anissa was.
It was all me. I will take all of the flack for that.
But he's surprisingly emotive here. Like I'm seriously attached to this robot, okay? And I know he's going to make me cry. This is one of those dramas, and the music is spot on. I don't know what the lyrics are. I can't even figure out the language, but the tune is spot on, and it's already like kind of like all getting me prepped up for the teary scenes. It's gonna happen. But weirdly, Sang-yoon, yeah. Kang Sang-yoon,
Are you talking about
yeah,
the
Kang Sang-yoon.
actress?
The actress from Circle.
Gong Seung-yeon.
Kang Sang-yoon.
Yes.
Her character is this feisty bodyguard slash amoral con woman type person, and like it's fine, but her character doesn't have much of a flavor. She has this weird vendetta against not a weird, it's a justified vendetta against Namshin, but it stems from this stupid situation where she got herself into, like, it was as much her fault as his, and I just don't understand why she is so determined to hate the guy. And but that's her plot, and I'm not very invested in her. I whenever her scenes come up, I kind of just want her to move away so I can get more of Namshin 3, which is the pro Namshin, and he's, oh my god, supremely adorable as and he's like a very humane, and that sounds odd, but he's more human than the actual human Namshin. And he is soft, and he is kind, and he thinks positively of the world, and he's polite. So he has to be taught how to be the arrogant human Namshin, and him trying to mimic the human Namshin is like the funniest thing. And again, heartbreak material. I know this is going to, yeah, I have already said that.
You should go and read the thread. You should go and read the thread on Twitter by the author. Who is that YA author? Sarah.
I've already done that.
Did you read it? It's very, it's also echoing your feelings.
Yeah, I finished watching the first 2 episodes and I went and read the whole thing. Yeah, it's true.
I find it kind of fascinating that, like, for example, with I'm Not a Robot, we had the person making the robot. It was like, the ex-boyfriend of the image of the robot. But in this, it's the mother that makes the robot. So that, like, throws in a whole different relationship thingy.
Yeah. It's not objectifying the way it was in I'm Not a Robot. In this one, it's more like the mother is so, and her son is torn away from her at a very young age through some horrible machinations, and she's trying to cope with her grief, and she's this genius, I don't know, bioengineer person. I don't even know what field she's in, but she's into biorobotics, and she builds the child to sort of give herself something to hold on to while she figures out how to get her son back.
So and basically, you're just primed for heartbreak from the get-go. Like, you're just going to cry from the beginning.
You know how the drama gets you? They don't start with Seo Kang-jun playing Namshin 3. No, they start with little toddler Namshin, and then they give you teenager Namshin, and then they give you, and it's like these robotic Namshins, they love Aurora, like that's Kim Sang-ryun, who's playing the mother. They love her. They are programmed to love her, and they are sweet, and they are kind, and that just like stabs you in the heart, because sooner or later the Namshin's heart's gonna break, and I'm really invested in this. Not good for my emotions.
So wait, is this like she's made multiple robots at different ages, or does the robot grow somehow?
No. She's made 3 different bodies at different ages, and she's just downloaded his memories into like the child Namshin was developed into a teenager Namshin, and then his memory and his, I don't know, I suppose his brain was downloaded into the adult.
It still sounds a little creepy.
I suppose it is. However, look, I have no objection to her holding on to her child's memory and recreating him like this. What I would heavily object to is her putting him in danger and not caring about his welfare when she gets her son back. And now I have not reached that section yet. I don't know if that is what it happens, but that's human nature. I suppose that you will prefer your own flesh and blood to the thing
to a robot.
That you created, and I know that is coming. Most likely, that is how these tropes work, and I'm bracing myself for that.
The thing is, like it's still a little bit creepy, but in this situation, like in I'm Not a Robot, you feel sorry for the girl whose ex-boyfriend has made her likeness into a robot, and it's creepy. But in this, it's a little creepy, but you feel sorry for the mother who's been kind of driven to doing this rather than her son.
She loves Namshin 3. It's not like she doesn't love her robotic creation. She loves, and she's very protective of him. So it's not like she's uncaring. Yeah, and they have a relationship that's completely separate from, and then he makes her smile, and when she cries, he's programmed to hug her. And that's just, it's okay, yeah.
I haven't watched this one, but I remember watching, and this is a little bit different, but I remember watching the Zettai Kareshi, the Japanese absolute boyfriend. It was like a manga, and then they made it into a drama, and it's basically like
about to become a K-drama too.
It is about to become a K-drama, and like, despite the weird premise of this teenage girl being like accidentally sent like a naked robot that's supposed to be like a romantic robot, if you know what I mean. But she ends up being like, put clothes on, and I don't like. She's like so innocent. She's like, no, I'm not doing that with you. And he's like, okay. But then she like, he becomes a really big part of her life because he's always there, like saving her and doing things for her and helping her, and he wants to make her happy. And then like, but ultimately it's tragic because like she can't love him and he's not a real person. So like that one made me cry a lot.
Because that's the crux of all robot dramas.
I don't think I can handle.
That's kind of the crux of all the robot dramas, isn't it? It's that the robot will never be human.
Except Bicentennial Man, which is what I want this one to be. Okay, he can grow up, he can be downloaded into another body. So I want the ending to be happy, please. I don't know how, but just give me another Bicentennial Man.
Well, we'll check back in with you once you finish, and we'll see if you've like destroyed on the piece.
You guys are gonna abandon me with this. Seriously, am I not to have any emotional support while I go through this?
Well, I'm gonna start. I just haven't had time yet, so it's still on my list. So maybe I'll be
suffer with
on the same boat. I always suffer. I'm sure I'll suffer.
Okay.
What's next?
Sketch. You watched that, right, Sarah?
Oh, Sketch. Yeah, I'm not quite up to date. I'm a few episodes behind, but I overcame my fear of
how many
all the terrible things that would happen. About 5. I've watched 5 episodes. Okay. So I'm at quite an exciting point. So what's really it's brutal. I mean, it's OCN, right? So they don't hold back on the brutality, and I forgot how hard a time I have with that kind of violence. So half the time I'm like covering my eyes, and then they had this one fight scene which in the beginning I was like, oh cool, fight scene, and then it kept on going. I was like, not cool, stop. And then they replayed it at the beginning of the next episode in its full glory, and you're like, I mean, I don't know if anyone else has followed my Twitter live commentary on watching Bad Guys, which by the way I've given up on because too many fight scenes, but I like action dramas, but there's a point where you're like, now you're just gratuitously just like, I don't know, stylizing your fight, and like,
and I also feel like with OCN, because it's action is kind of their brand and it has been from the beginning, they like really lean heavily into the action.
But there is, too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
And then it becomes
I don't disagree, but I'm just saying maybe that's why.
It's not even interesting. Like, I'm bored. This would have been interesting if it were like, a quarter of the length. Anyway, no more about the fight parts, because the actual plot part, I'm really into it. So, there are like two different seers. So one of them is Lee Sun-bin's character, and she like goes into these trances, like she's overtaken by a trance in which she sketches crime scenes, and clues. Like, they're really cryptic, and they they'll show scenes, but they'll be like, maybe it will be clearly like something like a murder scene, or it will be like a picture of something random, like a piece of paper on the floor with in a background, and then they have to run these images through the computer where they try to get clues from the pictures. So the rule is that whatever she draws, it comes true within 3 days, always, without fail. So it's never not come true. So on the one hand, you've got a police team, and she's a detective. So you've got a police team who work on solving or preventing or trying to prevent crimes based on her sketches. And on the other hand, you've got that character who is the dark character, which is Lee Dong-gun's character. Is that his name? Yep. And Rain, surprisingly, is really good in this. I don't know why that's surprising. I didn't expect him to be that good. I've only seen him in a few dramas.
He's usually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, because it's really quite a dark, gritty character, and he has a lot of emotional gravity. So, he's very compelling to watch. And because he and Lee Dong-gun, both of them experience a similar loss. Almost due to the same circumstance as well, but they take completely opposite, their paths diverge in almost opposite ways. Although it gets complicated and revengey, but they're nemesis basically. So we're at that part where they've confronted each other, they know each other's identities, and where Lee Dong-gun is trying to, his method is, he's been taken under the I guess protection of the other seer, who is this older guy who has dreams. So he has a similar power to Lee Sun-bin's, except he uses it to eliminate people. So no justice in law for him.
So is this a world in which people having precognitive powers is just regular and no one says anything about it? Or is it still...
No, they're both complete anomalies, so it's not like an accepted thingies, and nobody even knows about the second guy. So they cross paths a lot, and they're figuring out how they're connected to each other and how they can sort of fight fate. And there's a lot of talk about the causality principle and cause and effect, and whether what you do, the choice that you make at this point, whether it causes the thing that happens at the next point, and all of that. So it's philosophically really interesting, but it's also sort of plottishly very interesting too. Some people have said that, I read a couple of comments on Twitter and stuff, that they're finding it boring and repetitive. I haven't got there yet. I'm still finding it pretty interesting, and I find the plotting is tight and well constructed as well. It's a internally consistent world.
So do you think that the procedural side of it is more satisfying, or the character side is more satisfying, or are they both kind of doing, I think, both.
They're both
good job?
Yeah, they're both woven together really well. The tension is really good. It's
rare
a good
to
show.
Find.
I'm finding it a good show right now, apart from the overextended fight scenes.
Cool. And you've just watched the Suits finale, right?
Oh yeah, I did. I've got to say, I don't think that it was such a great cast and such a great idea, but I'm not sure that the American drama model suits the K-drama model. For example,
Pun intended.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Good pun.
I actually didn't intend it, but why not? At the end, I found it, I was watching it and it wasn't boring, but it was kind of bland. It's you've ate a meal. It wasn't bad, but it could have done with a bit more salt. So that's what it was like. If I didn't watch it, I don't think I'd have missed anything.
Yeah.
But I'm not at the point of, I want my 16 hours back, but
it's a shame when you have,
I had higher
those
expectations.
2 actors as your main cast. That's a shame.
Had much higher expectations.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my fault.
Speaking of having high expectations, Paroma.
Oh yeah.
You want to tell us about Because This Was My First Life?
Yeah, sure, I'll tell you. Okay, so a little context to this. You guys have been talking about how amazing this drama is for freaking 6 months now. Okay, it's been eating my head that I have this on my watch list and I haven't finished watching it. And also, it has like Lee Min-ki, and I haven't seen him in anything since I watched
Shut up, Flower Boy Band.
Dalja Spring.
Shut up, Flower Boy Band. You watched him in that after Dalja Spring.
No, he was just cameo there, and even then he just went and died. That doesn't even count.
Fine. I think you just ruined a couple of people's lives, but carry on.
Sorry.
Because they haven't watched it yet.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's been enough years if you haven't watched it.
No,
yeah, exactly.
Of course
at this point, it's like somebody telling you that, oh, you know what, Gominam is a girl, and you're beautiful, and you're like, what?
Not quite at that level, but I mean, good one.
So yeah, Lee Min-ki, I wanted to watch his, and for some reason I didn't recognize Jung-seok from the posters. Like I had seen her in Father is Strange, but she had very short hair and spectacles. I don't know, it was like a Clark Kent and Superman thing. I couldn't recognize her without the specs. Anyway, and also her character was pretty different here. But not initially, okay, honestly, till episode 12 or 13, I was full in. Man, I love this drama so much.
That basically is all of us.
Yeah, I think everyone's experience was pretty similar to that.
What the hell happened around 13 and 14? Like
Exactly.
Jung-seok's character, Je-hoon, suddenly turned, I don't even know what happened to her. Did she suddenly get brain damage? Why did she even take that stupid money passbook thing from her father-in-law? And how did that affect her worldview with anything? She was having a lovely slow burn romance with
I have no idea. It made no sense.
Nobody knows.
Something.
We all feel betrayed.
So and then she runs off and hurts him, and I do not understand.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, sorry guys, we had to cut off there because my computer is suffering from the paltry English heat wave, and it does not have an internal sweating system. Unlike me, I'm sitting here like cooking, but the computer just died. But luckily, oh my goodness, luckily we didn't lose the recording, so now we're just picking up. But Boroma's emotions have now cooled, so she will quickly tell us why she hates the end.
It just made no sense.
Yeah, it made no sense. I hated it. It completely reversed. Like everything, the characters, they just turned into poopy pants.
So, yeah, exactly. She went into this pseudo abstract, I don't know, abstractism. Is that even a thing?
Right. It was like meant to be some kind of transcendental realization of like, wow, I have discovered the truth of life. Except it didn't.
That's the thing. If she had suddenly realized that she was scared of having a relationship that was so serious, and it was like something basic and simple like that, I've been like, okay. But the writer was trying to make it sound like something so high-minded and mature and like.
And it's like it was the opposite.
Yeah.
It was like something an 18-year-old wrote as an ideal ending.
Yeah, I know it was so.
But a mature adult would not.
Yeah.
But the beginning was so well written, so it just makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly. Like it hadn't been that drama all along, and then suddenly it came to the end, and it was like, hold on, you just like that whole first 80% of the drama just went out of the window.
Yeah, and the beginning was so smart and interesting and full of interesting details, and everything was done so. Like, you could tell that the writer had plotted it out so meticulously, and there was so much attention given to everything, and then all of a sudden it was just like, what?
Yeah.
I'm still angry.
And what enraged me was that they were basically saying, like, if you take all of the extra bullshit out of what she was saying, it came down to all of a sudden after that meeting with her father-in-law. It was not even after she met Sehi's ex, because that was just like a complete like non-conflict, like that was nothing. And I really like that she told the woman that like if you still have feelings for him, then we are basically going to be enemies. And they both like acknowledged that their current emotions, and they just left it at that. And I loved it. Up till that point, everything was fine. And then she went and met her father-in-law, and I don't know what epiphany happened there, and this woman went insane, totally insane. Because the entire gist of what her issue is, at least from what she was telling us, was basically that she could not see any emotions in Sehi, and that he never cried in front of her. She had never seen him be angry. So she was he even human? Did he even feel anything for her? Did she even feel anything for him? And she was going to find out all of this stuff by running away and not even going anywhere, just out of his sight so that he suffers.
Yeah, it's like you were gonna go somewhere, but you didn't even go anywhere. Like, what was that even about? For no reason. Still makes me mad.
Biggest bullshit ever.
Also, it's like I think I might love you, so I'm gonna leave and see if your heart breaks, and then that means that you really love me, and it's okay for me to love you. Like, what the hell?
It just made no sense.
And the worst part,
and then they tied it all up with a. Sorry, say that again.
It was just like she derailed the entire thing just when he was opening up to her. He was showing emotions to her. They were having their slow burn romance was just starting to bloom, and then she just went and ruined it. Okay.
Okay, I've just opened my notes to see what I really thought at the time.
What did you think at the time?
Oh, it looks like I was so angry I didn't write anything. And oh no, unless I wrote it in my email. Hold on. Yeah, I must have written it in my email.
But then when she comes back and then she's like, sorry, I shouldn't have left you. And he's like, it's okay. And I'm like, that's it?
Yeah, and also, by the way, I felt so bad that he sold the apartment. Apartment. Yeah, he had worked so, and I understood the significance of it. Like we all understood that was the basic premise, right? Like he needed that house as security because his father had like leveraged security to take away his choice from him. He never wanted that to happen to him again. So that house symbolized security to him and to Yoon Ji-ho as well. So then he goes and sells the house, and it just what? I mean, why? Like why? And also, the one thing that I did not understand about this drama is why were you constantly pitting the cat against Ji-ho? Okay, his emotions towards the cat can be completely independent of any emotions he has towards the girl. Like, what the hell was that? Like, that was the one episode, like in the middle of the drama, that I was a little confused about. Was that he was like she had been pseudo kidnapped by this very hot younger boy, and the
pseudo kidnapped.
He was going to pick up the cat from the veterinary clinic, and the hot boy was like, does he even know where you are? Does he even care if something bad happens to you? And she is like, she can't answer. But then again, he doesn't know where she is. And more importantly, he has to go pick up the cat from the vet clinic. I mean, the clinic is going to close at 7, but he's running off to rescue her from her pseudo kidnap. And then we don't even know how the cat got back home. Because he jokes that she took a taxi. What does that mean?
I found one note. I'm now browsing my email drafts where I write notes when I'm not on my own computer. So for your entertainment, episode 9. Note: all I do while I watch this show is screen cap the cat.
It's a very cute cat.
Oh, you remember there was that one scene where they're like having this serious conversation, and the cat is like in the background, like getting into this shelf and like squiggling around, and you're like, I'm just watching this for the cat drama. I don't care about the humans.
Yeah, the cat was very comfortable on the set.
That was a good cat.
So, okay, so that was the main lead. To be fair, I actually like the other two romantic stories, like Isom and Park Byung-yoon's romance. I like that.
Do you know what? I hated the ending of all of the couples. All of them. Like, oh gosh, I can't remember the characters' names now, but you know, was it Kim Min-suk?
The
They
younger
should have
ones.
broken up. And
Yeah.
Isom,
Oh yeah, yeah,
sorry,
yeah. They should have just gone their different ways. True.
she was a no marriage, like no to marriage all the way through, and then suddenly at the end she's like, yes. Like they just, everyone was tied up in a neat bow in boxes that were not the right size for them. Like everyone is getting married in the end, but it didn't fit the characters. It was just, it had this ending forced on it. And the thing that I really hated was where they left Sehee and what's her name? Jung-seok. I can't remember character's name. What's the character's name?
Je-ho.
Oh, Je-ho. Where they left Sehee and Je-ho's relationship, where it was like the way they dealt with all of the complexities of their relations and things like that was just by disappearing. Real life doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
You cannot
I
disappear.
Yeah.
And also,
You have responsibilities, you have duties. You know, elders do need honoring. You might not like it, but like there's a certain amount of social duty you have in, you know, in everything. Relationships have duties. They just do. And you can't, I don't know what world you exist in where you don't have those. It was like, and the word that came to mind was just irresponsible and immature. That's not how a grown-up relationship works. I mean, they weren't abusive.
And it was
Okay, they were a little bit abusive sometimes, but like, you know, they weren't. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway,
but not really. I mean, I went into this thing imagining that there were going to be really
oh no,
abusive
wait, no,
in-laws,
I'm
but they were
confusing.
very normal
I'm confusing
in-laws.
Fight My Way. Hold on. Not abusive at all. Right.
Right.
They were not abusive. They were just complex. You
Yeah,
know,
they
people are
were
complicated. They have histories. They have their own
exactly.
you know, difficulties and things that, you know, that you brush you know, you butt heads with each other about things about. People are not smooth surfaces. You're always going to sort of encounter the rough edges of other people just because that's life. But yeah, to
and
say
even,
that the
like,
solution
now
to
that
that was to just like cut yourself off, that's not. Sorry, that's not a
At
solution.
some
No.
point, though, like at some point in the drama, like during one of the, I don't know, million voiceovers, somebody said that everybody's perspective is valid. Like when your in-laws expect you to do something, they that I mean, or when they have certain hopes for you, that's a valid expectation. That those are valid hopes. I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. Am I confusing this with the Japanese one? Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
I think
sure.
they said this in the Japanese one, not in the Korean
I would
one.
say
Damn it, I
about the
was very
Korean
closely
one,
together.
the voiceovers by the end, they were just, I wanted to punch my screen in because they were trying to present these thoughts as profound, but they were not profound. They were just like navel gazing and
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
pretentious without being meaningful.
A particularly egregious example of that was probably when Jiho and is sitting with Sehi's ex in that wall climbing club thing where anyway they randomly were sitting and having a date apparently. And and they have this conversation where she's like, I'm divorcing Sehi, and the ex kind of looks sad for them. She's like, I wished you guys had a happy ending. And she's like, is that the kind of person you are? I thought you were more modern. Does divorced mean an unhappy ending? And she just goes on in this vein and then she walks off all smug.
That was so
Seriously,
weird.
because
Yeah. I don't
she intended
understand.
to go back to Sehi anyway. She intended to have a relationship with him and later on marry him anyway. So what was the point of that completely
So
bullshit
my
philosophizing?
note on that part says, when women are incomprehensible.
The thing about Jiho though that now that I look back on it, like she just quits when she's having a hard time. You know, like
Yeah.
where then she had that really terrible experience with the director who assaulted her, which of course
Yeah.
you're justified if you want to leave. But then after that she gets a job at a coffee shop and she's like, yeah, I'm not gonna even write anymore. Like I thought your whole identity was that you're a writer. Like aren't we like the whole beginning part she's talking about how like she's always wanted to be a writer ever since she was in high school, and it's like who she is, and then all of a sudden like she doesn't even like she doesn't even think about doing something else. Like maybe if she doesn't want to do dramas anymore, but like she's just completely cut that off and she just is going to be at this coffee shop forever. And then when things get difficult with Sehi,
Oh, and also, why didn't she work for Sehi's ex? Because she told Sehi's ex that it was not about their old relationship.
Right.
If it was not about their relationship, then why wouldn't she sign the contract with her company? Like her company helped her fight her that assaulter guy.
That made no sense. I know they were like, so that problem got. I mean, that trauma obviously can't go away so easily, but she made it her able to re-enter the industry, and I felt like before she was saying that was the problem, is that she didn't have a way to go back because nobody would hire her because she was blacklisted or whatever. But so that problem was solved. So then why did she say no?
I don't get it.
Yeah,
and apparently they were friends. So how did it was nothing made sense? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, especially because so much of the drama was about like finding yourself, and because it's called Because It's My First Life. So it's all about like taking these challenges on for the first time and hopefully learning something and moving on, and next time you'll be more experienced. So like it's just, I don't know. It was very disappointing.
You know how you guys keep saying that Je-hoon's character is escapist and their decisions in the end was escapist. So the Japanese original, though again, like it was loosely, like the Korean one was loosely adapted from it. It's not exactly inspired. I'm sorry. Yeah, loosely inspired is more accurate. Yeah, but the interesting thing about it is that the other name, like the official name that they go with is okay. I cannot pronounce it. Nigeru wa Haji Daga. Yaku Nitatsu. I'm so sorry. I apologize for even trying that. But the English translations that they have several. One is "We Married as a Job," but the other ones are "Running Away is Shameful but Helpful," which is a line from the drama, and the other one is the full-time wife escapist. So like escapism and running away, it's like it's a theme inside that drama. But then again in the Japanese one, which is like an 11 episode drama without all of this like extra like bullshit philosophy, it's not navel gazing at all. It really faces up to what it actually is, which is that they entered a contract relationship because the girl wants a job, not a place to live, because her parents are happy to support her, but she desperately wants a job. She's an overeducated university graduate or postgraduate, and she doesn't have a job in this particular market. And she's like, she just wants to be good at something and earn for herself. And she starts housekeeping for this guy. And she finds out that she's good at this job. And this guy, who's very quiet and very particular about things, he's very happy with her work. And at one point, because like this girl shows true crazy, unlike Je-hoon's bizarre strain of crazy, which just pops up out of nowhere. Mikuri Moriyama, she suddenly and boldly risks things by saying certain things or proposing certain things that people get taken aback by. And she's having this conversation with her employer, which is Hiramasa Shizaki. Yeah. And he's this like computer nerd. He's very good at what he does, but he's very socially awkward, and he never expects to get married. He's never had a girlfriend, and he's 35 years old. Nobody expects him to get married or ever be in a relationship. And he's very quiet, and he just wants to be left alone. And she's very good at her job at making sure that she doesn't intrude in his space. So they fit each other. So they were having a conversation, and she suddenly says that, look, my parents are moving away. I won't be able to do this job anymore. Why don't you marry me, but as a job? So I can be a stay-at-home housekeeper, and you can pay me a salary, but I'll basically be your housekeeper, but socially approved. And so they enter a contract marriage, and they're both very happy with it. Like, she has a full-time job that she likes to do. And he's a very good employer. Like, she has a good salary, good time off, and all of that stuff. So that's how the contract marriage starts off. But it's also that, like, Hiramasa would never have been able to get into any relationship like in any other way. And Mikuri is a psych major, right? She analyzes everyone. So she figures out very quickly that one of the issues Hiramasa has, why he can't befriend women, is because he has an inferiority complex, and that he runs away if he feels threatened. And she approaches him very gently, and it's again a slow burn but done properly.
Yeah, I agree with all your points, and I actually didn't watch the last episode because I was watching it as it was airing, so the subs weren't ready, and then I kind of forgot to go back because I was waiting. But I don't know how it ends, but I really agree that they approached it in a really down to earth but sweet way, and it was very practical, and both of them were very practical about it. It wasn't trying to be so like literary in the negative sense, the way that Because This Life Is Your First was trying. It was like trying too hard to be profound, and that actually made it less profound in the end, in my opinion. Whereas like We Married as a Job was so simple and so sincere and so quirky and funny, but it ended up being actually really profound, at least the part that I watched.
That's true. That is exactly that throughout till the finale.
And the dance at the end, which is
the tune is still stuck in my head.
Okay, so that wraps up our watching dramas. So I guess we're going to move on to news now then. Okay, news.
Yes.
So the completely not yay news is an update on what we talked about last time, which is Yoon Kyun-sang's casting opposite Kim Yoo-jung in Clean with Passion for Now has been confirmed. So, not yay. Are you guys going to watch it?
Oh, by the way, related to that, I said initially that About Time, despite the age difference, it didn't feel very creepy to me in the first episode, but subsequently, no, I really can't take that particular pairing. The age difference has become glaring, and it's just
disturbing. Is it the age difference
or
is it the actor?
It's that the girl is very, her personality is very young, this particular character. And whereas like she is dealing with something that's making her mature, because like death is something that would mature you faster. But her life experience makes her much younger than the guy. So I don't know, I'm really not liking this pairing at this point. So yeah.
I remember when I was watching Whisper, which was it last year or something? Can't even remember when it was so horrible. Lee Sang-yoon was basically horrible. Like I hate, and I loved.
He was so good in
20 again.
20 again. That's right.
And Liar Game. Like I love those two.
Yeah, but it's one thing to pair him with Lee Young, or even like in 20 again, where he was paired with someone his own age. But it's another thing to pair him with Lee Sang-yoon.
Liar Game, which it didn't have a romance, but Kim So-eun, I think, we were shipping them. It was about the character and how he played it. But he was boring and unlikable and unrelatable in Whisper. He just had a really horrible character. So that's why I'm wondering, is it the actor or is it like the visual pairing? Is it the characters?
It's slightly the visual pairing, and also because he doesn't have a very fleshed out character. I don't understand his motives or why he's doing what he's doing, why he's feeling any emotions for this girl. I'm not getting any of it. So at this point it feels just a little bit like as if like he likes that she needs him. And that just makes the dynamics not okay.
Yeah. So going back to Clean with a Passion for You, Saya was asking, are we going to watch it? I don't think so. Unless I start hearing really amazing things about it, I don't think so.
I'm going to try out the first episode just for the girl, because I like her so much.
I really like Kim Yoo-jung so much.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, let's
agree that we'll watch the first episode and then we'll talk about it and then we'll decide.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing is Kim Hee-ae has a new film coming out about comfort women that's releasing next week.
The Japanese slave.
Yeah, exactly. And she did this pretty interesting interview where she talked about like people were surprised that she took a role like that. And she was, and in that interview, she talked about how sparse, rich, three-dimensional characters are for older women. I found that really interesting.
And so rarely are they main characters. It'll be like a mother or like a side character.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the theme of the film, sort of outside of the podcast, I think we've talked about the comfort women, Japanese occupation and stuff kind of amongst ourselves quite a bit. So, and it's a really distressing history to learn about as well. I don't know if I'm the best person to handle this. I'm probably going to hand over to Anissa to explain what that is.
Sure. So it's basically if you haven't heard about comfort women, it's what people generally refer to as basically the Japanese army during the World War II period. And basically, I think it was during World War II. They kidnapped a whole bunch of women from Korea and Singapore and the Philippines and like all these areas where they were, where they had colonized and were basically had taken over these other countries. And they kidnapped these young women and they forced them to be sexual slaves for their army. And many of those women never went back home. A lot of them did go back home, but they were so traumatized. They were and
they were rejected by the community when
they came back.
Well.
Yeah, because they, at that time,
it was their fault.
It was very
they
scandalous.
were blamed. Yeah,
right. So now most of them have passed away. There's very few who are still alive, and in South Korea, there's still a group of women who. There's only 3 or 4 of them left, but they go every week. There's a day of the week, I think it's Wednesday, to go and they stand in front of the Japanese embassy in Seoul, and they're still. And there was an apology that was kind of orchestrated by Park Geun-hye's government a couple years ago, but the comfort women were not. The former comfort women said that they were not consulted and they weren't happy about it and they were not satisfied. So it's just one of those things that like Japan has never really dealt with properly, and they've never really faced up to it, and it's something that's like still a wound for Korean people and for the other people from other countries who had to go through that. And it's difficult.
Did the Japanese government make a formal apology, or are they still refusing?
So they apologized, but it was tied to some kind of treaty negotiations, and there was some money that exchanged hands. Yeah, I think it was just that after that apology, then the Korean government at that time had said that they were no longer going to ask for an apology, or that the record had been set straight or whatever. But the former comfort women said that they were not even asked what their opinion was, and if they had known, then they wouldn't have, agreed to this, the conditions that were set. Yeah.
So it's like a political gimmick rather than a true apology.
That's what it looked like to me. And from what I've learned about the way that history is taught in Japanese schools, they don't really talk about it. A lot of Japanese people don't really know what happened. So it's a very,
that's very difficult. Typical for colonizers.
Right, exactly. So, it's a painful history, and it's not easy to deal with. So I'm looking forward to this movie, especially like Kim Hee-ae is always amazing.
Everything. Yeah. I'm going to slide in a recommendation for I Can Speak as well, which is Je-hoon with, what's her name?
That's such a lovely movie.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I finally watched it. It was so wonderful.
Let me find out what the name of the actress.
That grandmotherly actress that
she's wonderful.
She was in Just Between Lovers too.
Namun Hee. Yeah, the actress is Namun Hee, who's just wonderful in everything she does. This is a really great film. Everyone should watch it. It's really so touching.
This is I Can Speak, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I Can Speak.
Okay, so and another thing that she mentioned in this interview, which is completely unrelated to the topic of the history, is that she put on weight for the role. I found that interesting because immediately after I read this, I read another article about Kim Go-eun, who also has an upcoming film called Sunset in My Hometown, and she put on 8 kilos for that role. Kim Hee put on 5 kilos for this. So I found that it was just, I didn't find that particularly anything. But what do you guys think about women putting on weight for roles?
I just find it interesting that whenever it's an actress, they always talk about how much weight that they have to put on and that they're going to have to take it off, and actors don't really talk about it, or they're not asked about it.
The reason that caught my eye is because the actual headline of this article is Kim Go-eun gains weight for movie role. And I was like, okay, why is that, is that the most important thing about this entire film and her role in it? And because it had just come up in the other. Although in the Kim Hee article, they didn't focus on that. They said that she'd put a lot into becoming that character. That she'd learned, she had to master like Saturi, the Busan dialect. That she changed her whole image. So that was about how she went all in to get this role, to get into the role that she had. So for her, it wasn't a focus on her looks. But then they have this Kim Go-eun headline. Okay, and this was on Chosun Ilbo. So this is how they talk about younger women. Okay, so the next one is a really cute story. Jung-seok and Gummy are getting married in the autumn.
Yay! Oh, they're so cute.
Finally. So they've been dating. They've been together for 5 years already. And yeah, they're going to get married. That's all there is to say. We're just very happy about this.
Yes, and I just want to point out that like it's very rare that a relationship that has been public for a long time tends to end in marriage, and it's happy and there's no drama. So good for them for like, managing to deal with that properly. And I think the only other couple I can really think of is Ji-sung and Lee Bo-young, who also like they didn't really make a big deal out of it, but everyone kind of knew, and they were very like normal about it. And then they got married, and so
also they're very cute together.
They are, yeah. So yeah.
Another really cute couple that I love is Park Ha-sun and Ryu Si-young, because they were in 2 weeks. That they were like they weren't together in 2 weeks. He got jilted.
They were engaged, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, because Lee Jung-ki came back, and how can any drama character not choose Lee Jung-ki? But in real life, the nice guy can win. I loved it so much. It's like you got
that she picked him.
Yeah, I really like that because they're so low key and they're so like adorable, and
they are. Yes. Yeah, they're lovely also.
The thing I tend to forget about Jung-seok is that because I watch him in dramas, I forget that he's also like a musical person. So he's like constantly like when he's not doing dramas, he's doing musicals. So he's like he belongs to the music world as much as he does to the drama world. And of course, the first drama I ever watched him in was What's Up. So music.
He's got them pipes. Yep.
He has indeed. What's the next one? Oh, and the next one is also like one of my favorite stories of the month, which is it's been confirmed that Je-hoon and Soo-bin are going to lead the SBS drama Fox Breadster. I
just see them sharing some oxygen on my screen.
and then I felt guilty because I'm like, what about Yoo Seung-ho? Is she really going to cheat on drama boyfriend Yoo Seung-ho?
Oh, come on.
Is she allowed to? And then I was like, forget this. I need them to be in this drama together. So the interesting thing about this drama, which originally was called Fox Bride Star and then was changed to People of Incheon Airport, and then it reverted back to the original title. And this is from the writer of Romantic Dr. Teacher Kim. And it sounds quite similar in concept to A Poem a Day, which is like, it's about airport support staff, and like it's meant to be a healing drama. So it sounds, I feel excited. And the other interesting thing is that these roles were previously turned down by Hyunbin and Park Shin-hye, who then went on to sign together for Memories of the Alhambra, which is an upcoming drama from the writer of Queen In-hyun's Man, 9W, all of that. So
I'm more excited for this.
I'm excited for both of them. But yeah, this pairing, I'm so into this pairing. I'm very excited about this one.
It's funny about the title because the other titles makes more sense, and this one's kind of nonsensical, but this one is way more memorable and interesting.
Yeah, it's more whimsical as well. You kind of expect it to be like a fantasy romance. In fact, I kind of want it to be a fantasy romance because I love fantasy romance.
Right, and then you find out the premise and you're like, huh, okay.
Well, speaking of fantasy romance, not quite fantasy, but almost. There's also going to be, this is our last news item? Oh no, not quite last. A new cross-dressing sageuk, except this time it's a boy dressing up as a girl. And so he hides out in like a widow village to escape a childhood betrothal. And this is an adaptation of a popular webtoon which has been running since 2014 called Mung Chronicles. Mung?
I'm so excited for this. I'm really, I mean, there's no casting.
There's nothing, like there's nothing attached to it, but it's like the concept is so fun. I can't wait to see who gets cast.
You know, for one, like I think we've only had one other one, and that was a boy cross-dressing as a girl, and it was a teen romance called Ma Boy, which kind of tells you the whole thing.
I really enjoyed
it was one of those
was
like
so
lower budget, with idols who are very like without much acting experience.
Wasn't that Kim So-hyun in that?
But the guy who plays the girl I think it was like his first acting project or something.
I can't remember who the boy was actually.
But I mean, I heard it was good and cute and stuff. But I mean,
you haven't watched it? It is cute.
I haven't watched it. Oh, okay.
It's like 2 episodes or something, or 4 or something.
It's short, right?
Yeah. It's really short and it's really cute. Yeah, this looks like a full length.
It seems like a full length. It's set in like sageuk times, which is very interesting. There's no prince or king or princess or chaebol involved, which is so exciting to
that you know of.
That we know of. Okay, so
I'm sure there's gonna be a king prince, somewhere.
Okay, fine. I can hope. I can still hope when it's nothing is confirmed, right?
Yeah. So the last news story we've got is actually a bit of an old one. So this passed us by earlier, but back in February, BBC Worldwide announced the Korean remakes of 3 BBC dramas. So 2 of those have actually already happened and aired, and one of them being Mistresses. Both of them were OCN dramas. So Mistresses is already aired, Life on Mars, which is currently airing. I think none of us watched Mistresses, right?
I don't know.
Or Life on Mars.
But I plan to watch Life on Mars, so you know.
So do I.
Don't write me off yet.
There's so many dramas airing this month.
Right. But the third one, which I didn't know about until I read this article, is Luther, which sounds exciting. I mean, I don't watch Luther, but you know.
It had Idris Elba in it. Okay.
That's right.
It's like Idris Elba being like a spy or a detective or something, but he's very cool and he's very
hot.
Yeah.
Idris Elba.
The reason I accidentally came across this when I was reading another article about how a BBC producer was praising the remake of Life on Mars. So he described it as, oh gosh, wait, I need to look this up before I say this. So the Simpy article quotes the BBC producer, as describing Life on Mars as having the Korean one having the essence of the original, but also having its own local flair. And also because it's set in a really volatile time period in Korean history, they managed to adapt it really well to the Korean context. So that's exciting. I'm actually really unhappy that I haven't been able to watch it yet.
Yeah, I also, it's on my list, and this past week has been so busy. I really want to get on that, start watching it.
Because when we were talking about Suits a bit earlier, I said that the American format didn't seem to work well with Korean formats, and with like the BBC sort of mini series formats, it's interesting. I think that they're really compatible with each other. Like, my go-to description of K-drama to non-K-drama people is, think BBC period drama, except it's not in English and it's not period. So, kind of, I find
because
them
they do
really
more
good
of
styles.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that fully contained story. You know, not the multi-season format, but that, you know, the story, a complete story within a short run of episodes.
So even if it does have multiple seasons, every season is kind of its own story with its own beginning and ending. Whereas with American shows, they just keep stretching it, and then there's the season finale is always a cliffhanger, and then like you have to come back next year to
and you don't even know if it's going to be renewed. That's another thing with
that's the other thing.
Ones.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right. So sometimes you just never find out what happens.
Yeah. And then it tortures you for like the next 15 years, and then you quit American TV.
Oh, is this from personal experience?
Never. I would never say such a thing.
So we
wraps up
stopped.
all of the interesting news stuff. Okay.
So next we have our upcoming drama section. There's actually a ton of stuff airing that's listed to be airing in July. I'm going to start with the what actually has a solid air date, and then I'll just quickly mention the other ones. So first, on July 4th, we have Your House Helper, which stars Ha Seok-jin, Bona, who was also, I think she was in Girls' Generation 1979, Lee Je-hoon, and Ha Seok-jin is basically a very cool guy who's rich, but he's decided to be a housekeeper. God knows why.
That was the question on the tip of my tongue. Why?
Yeah, he's like estranged from his rich family, and he goes around and cleans women's houses, and he's Bona's housekeeper, and he solves women's problems and gives them advice. I don't know, that's the whole premise.
The first teaser that they released showed him very happily and peacefully cleaning a house, and he was giving the camera a smile, and it seemed like he was very satisfied with his life. But then subsequent trailers made him out to be like a very irate housekeeper. Like he was spraying water on one of the women who was sleeping. He's like, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Oh, see, I only saw the first trailer, so I thought he was like going into this zen state of cleaning houses and, you know, finding inner peace. I guess that's not what it is.
I don't think he's doing this willingly.
Okay.
Whatever his reasons may be. Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Ha Seok-jin can pull it off, I guess. I don't see Bona as being old enough to be able to hire someone like him as her house cleaner, so that's kind of a weird, but I guess we'll find out. So the next one is Mr. Sunshine, which I'm sure we all have heard about and have been knowing everything about, but I'll just give a quick rundown. It's the next Kim Eun-suk drama with the same person that's worked on her, you know, worked with her on previous like Goblin and stuff. And it's got Lee Byung-hun, Kim Tae-ri, Yoo Yeon-suk, Kim Min-jung, Yeon Yo-han. So like it's an amazing cast except for the main character, which
I'm so torn about this show because I loved Goblin and I loved Descendants of the Sun. And apart from that person, I love the rest of the cast.
Right, and the story is so interesting.
Yeah, and the trailers are amazing.
Basically, yeah, here's the premise. I'll just tell you. During the United States expedition to Joseon in 1871, a boy from Joseon boards an American warship and goes to America. As an adult, he returns to his home country as an American soldier stationed in the country. Like, that's so interesting. And like, she has the money to do it properly as a really good period drama with like everything that you need.
Why?
Yeah.
I don't know what. I cannot decide what to do about this drama. Usually the choice is easy. It's like, you know, if they're sleazebags, you don't watch them. And my brain is telling me that, but then I'm looking at all the trailers and how can I don't think I can enjoy it. I don't think I'll be able to enjoy it, even if everything else is amazing. But do I check it out or not? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't know. If he wasn't the hero and he was like a
side character, yeah,
then it would be okay.
But you're telling me
asking me to root for this guy
exactly
and believe
as
that
a
he's
romantic interest. Ugh.
Yeah,
yuck. Yeah, I probably am not watching it. Watch when I come crawling back next month and admit that I've been watching it.
Borrow any thoughts?
I might sneak a peek just because the production value looks so high.
Amazing.
The trailers are gorgeous. So and these often are the period dramas. They pour a lot of money into it, and this period especially.
Kim Eun-suk can do anything, pretty much. Yeah. Sorry, ignore me.
No, that's absolutely true. But also that this period is a time of very stark colors. Like you have the army uniform, which is very dull, versus the Joseon era, or like late Joseon era costumes. Like for instance, what the girl was wearing in the trailer. The juxtaposition of these colors are very striking.
Right, and like it's a time when the technology is changing, and like then you have like this the two cultures clashing, and you have
we're just not used to that.
Yeah, it's an era that we haven't really gotten to see, and you know that they're probably going to do a good job because they have so much money and it's such a high profile show. But then on the other hand, it's like, oh, so it's just really, yeah, it's hard. All right, well, we'll come back next month and confess our sins and or our pain. So the next one on the list is coming out on July 16th. It's Let's Eat 3. Where Yoon Do-jun romances yet another new lady with food. But I was watching the trailers, and it seems like it's his origin story. So the female lead in this is Baekjin-hee, and I think she's like the original woman that he loved, like back in the day. Because they're like, so how did you first become like Shiksha-nim? And he's like, I knew this woman, and then he starts. So I don't know if like the whole thing is going to be taking place 15 years ago or what the deal is. But anyway. I just loved him so much with Lee Soo-kyung in Let's Eat 1 that I couldn't even watch Let's Eat 2. I don't know if you guys watched either one of those.
I haven't watched either of them.
Also, you will gain 15 pounds from every
talking
episode. About. It's so food porny. Oh my gosh.
That's part of the reason why I decided not to watch it.
It's hard. Like you have to be eating or you can't watch it every time. So it's rough on your waistline. Let's just skip that one.
Okay.
And the other one that's coming up soon that I'm really excited for is Life. It's airing on
I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, on July 23rd. It's Lee Dong-wook, Jo Sung-woo, Won Jin-ah, who are all amazing. And plus, it's the writer of Forest Secrets.
In it, man.
Yes, and the
this
director
just needs
of
to
Live
start
Up
right now.
and Dear My Friends, which were both really well directed. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
This is a definite.
I'm so glad Lee Dong-woo is doing a lead. Look, the last time I loved him in something was Goblin, and I know he's been in so many other things, but it's just that's where he really stood out for me. I'm happy to see him again in a drama that looks interesting.
I just love that they're taking him as a serious actor now because it's like he had to beg his way onto Goblin, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it paid off. Bless him.
Bless his heart. Like he's just one of those people where you're like, just like bless your heart. That's a Southern expression, but it fits here. But I was gonna say that the premise sounds really boring because it's about a power struggle in a hospital. But then if you watch you like those? Okay. Personally, I don't enjoy those. But I watched the trailer and first of all, the cast and the writer and all that. But then even like when I was watching the trailer, it seems as if there's some kind of like cover up that happened with some suspicious deaths, and like some people tried to cover it up and some are still questioning it, and like there's some kind of. It seems like maybe Lee Dong-wook was the attending doctor, and then Won Jin-ah had some kind of relationship with the patient. So, like, it looks interesting. And plus, I mean, I just feel like they're going to do a great job with anything, this team. So
like, it's the Reaper version of Forest of Secrets.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
also,
I really want it to be that.
Looks like he's kind of evil, and, like, I don't know if my heart is going to be able to take that because I love him so much, but I know he's going to be really good, so I'm excited. There's also a weekend drama coming up on July 14th called About Her. And it's Nam Sang-mi is the heroine. Hero is Kim Jae-won. And I think the second lead is Jo Hyun-jae. Basically, it's about a woman who has plastic surgery and loses her memory from the after effects.
It sounds like Birth of a Beauty. You know that Ju Sang-wook Han Ye-seol drama?
And and the male lead is her plastic surgeon.
Yeah, this is exactly like Birth of a Beauty.
Yeah. So
isn't that the plastic surgery drama coming up?
There's another one. It's called My ID is Gangnam Beauty, which like no comment on that title, but it's got Im Soo-young and Cha Eun-woo, and it's basically like this girl who is seen as being an ugly person, so she gets teased and bullied, and then she undergoes plastic surgery.
And still gets teased and bullied. You can't win.
Yeah, and she still gets teased and bullied, but now it's because she's had plastic surgery, and the guy is one of those who only cares about what's on the inside, apparently, according to the summary. So it's just
but he only met her after she had plastic surgery.
Right.
I'm like, I bit back my sarcastic retort, and Burma speaks it. Thank you.
We have hive mind, Saya. That's what we've got.
But I mean, about her, because it's a weekend drama and it's probably gonna be 50 episodes. Like, I don't really want to watch it. But then on the other hand, I really love Kim Jae-won. So now and also like, even though the weird, shady premise, I'm probably gonna watch at least some of it.
Did you guys watch Birth of a Beauty? Because that was a really fun drama up until episode
I watched
12.
like 8 or 9 episodes, and
Okay,
then
you watched the good parts.
Okay, yeah, that was cute and hilarious, and yeah.
But then it went downhill in the last quarter, as they do.
Yeah. So my idea is Gangnam Beauty. That is not. It's just marked for July, but there's no air date. And I think a lot of these they don't have set in stone air dates because a lot of stuff is being preempted by the World Cup. So like that happened to Walk of Love this week. Happened to a couple of other dramas. So also listed for July is Risky Romance with Ji Hyun-woo and Lee Si-young, which is for Lee Si-young, as I mentioned reminded me earlier that she's coming back after having her baby, which she, like the badass that she is, did all of her stunts herself in Lookout while she was pregnant. Oh my god. And she was amazing in that show.
She really was.
Lookout was so good, despite the bad ending, or the nonsensical ending. I really enjoyed that last year.
But part of why the finale of Lookout was a bit more low action was because she was so far along she couldn't do some of the action scenes. So that's why it was more talk, less action. That wasn't the sin of the dramas.
Exactly.
Ending. Yeah.
It's not what was more action is not what was lacking in that weird twist. Yeah. So, but that makes sense though.
I didn't hate the ending of Lookout. Just putting that out there.
Okay. It made me pretty mad. So the Risky Romance plot is basically a romance between a neurosurgeon and an endocrinologist. And the guy wants to win, and the woman is obsessed with hormones. So I don't know. I don't understand what's going on there.
Well, endocrinologists probably should be obsessed with hormones, but I'm foreseeing a character who thinks everything is about hormones. Emotions are just a result of hormones, and love is just this hormone interacting with that hormone.
Maybe.
It's probably something like that.
And the risk is because he's in love with her and she doesn't believe in love, so his heart is at risk of breaking.
Maybe.
And there's another one. There's a lot of shows coming out in July. There's another one listed for July called 30 but 17.
I'm so excited for this because I love these two.
I'm excited, but I'm conflicted again because the leads are Young Sejong and Shin Hae-sun, who I love both of them, but they're both 30. But she's been in a coma since she was 17, and she just woke up, so she has the mind of a 17-year-old.
Okay, I don't like it anymore, but I love this pairing.
Yeah, I was actually And it's the director of Pinocchio and I Hear Your Voice, and the writer of She Was Pretty and High School King of Savvy, which I loved High School King of Savvy.
One bad drama and one...
Right, She Was Pretty was not good.
Bad.
So I was thinking that this reminds me a little bit of this drama from it's an old drama, but it has Park Ha-san's husband. I can never say his name.
I looked him up 10 minutes ago and I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But anyway, it's about a husband and wife who are kind of at a rocky place in their relationship.
Young, there you go.
Ryu Soo-young, yeah. And she has an accident and she forgets, and she goes back to her memories from age 19 or 18. And at that time they were enemies in high school. And so it's her having to remember their relationship up until that point and fall in love with him again. But I don't know, that was less creepy because she's already made the decision to be married to him as an adult and they have a life together, where this is kind of gross to me. I don't know. Why 17? Couldn't they have chosen
22 or something?
At least be legal. It's another one of those you can get around the legality or the appearance of impropriety, but it's still deep down kind of yucky,
I don't know. I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah, but this is an old movie trope, though, where you have a child's mind in a woman's body. It's been done so many times in older movies.
But that's ethically, inherently problematic.
Yeah.
So it's kind of I don't know how you can get around it with numbers.
Yeah.
But you ethically, it's really, I don't know, because that person is a vulnerable person. You, as the mature adult, would be unethically taking advantage of someone who doesn't have the mental capacity of an adult.
Having
Because
said
a
that,
17-year-old is not an adult.
yeah, I totally agree with you. But having said that, this writer was able to carry off a relationship between a high school
That's
senior
true.
boy and like an
Yes.
adult woman in her 30s. So there is that. I mean, I
So
was
my guess
very
is we're going to
doubtful
see
of
that maturity. Like, Shin
Mm.
Hye-sun's character is going to... Is she the one in the coma?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Was it even a coma? Did I just make that up? Anyway, so
No,
Shin...
she was in a coma. She was in a coma, and the coma happened 13 years ago, and he was also in a traumatic incident 13 years ago, which caused him not to want to have a relationship with others. Who wants to bet that it was the same incident that put them in those positions?
Never!
Penny takers. So I don't know. I think I'm still going to check it out, but we'll see. It's very dependent on the execution, I think. The last thing on my list is called Time. It's got Kim Jung-hyun and So-hyun. I don't know anything about Kim Jung-hyun, but So-hyun is from Girls' Generation. So yeah, I'm kind of conflicted because like I really love him, but I haven't seen her do a good job acting before. So maybe she'll improve.
What else has she been in?
I feel like she had a cameo in something. Let me check her credits, but I don't think she's really done anything too impressive. She was in Bad Thief, Good Thief. She had a cameo, which I didn't watch, and then she had a cameo in Weightlifting Fairy, Kim Bok-joo, but it was like very, very brief. She's had a bunch of cameos in a lot of things,
So
and she was also in Moon Lover, Scarlet Heart Rio, which like I didn't watch, but I heard that was a train wreck.
Don't get Burma started.
Yeah, I don't have high hopes for her, but he's always worth watching, at least to check it out.
I don't know if I'm even going to check it out.
Yeah, but the synopsis of this drama sounds very depressing.
It sounds very depressing. It's a writer of Secret, so I don't know if that's something that would... Yeah.
Yeah, but the writer of Secret still... Like, when you have Ji-sung
and
then
this
that's like
synopsis
next
makes
level.
a lot of sense.
Right, so usually something that sounds this dark I would run screaming from, but I don't have any faith in So-hyun being able to carry off the script written by the writer of Secret, you know?
Someone check it out and tell me if I should watch it.
We are on the last leg of the podcast, and question of the yak. I have one for you guys.
Yay!
Yay!
Okay. So my question is, we all have opinion on drama soundtracks. What original soundtrack has stayed with you long after the drama was over? Like what has become in some ways themes of your life, if you will?
Well, you want it to be like, the Goblin soundtrack where they're doing that backlit, moonlight walk.
That one's mine.
Which one?
Don't even touch it, guys.
I won't. Don't worry. You keep that one. I'll pick another one.
Yeah, that punch one is really
also,
good.
I have dibs on auditory hallucination.
I'm sorry. You don't get to have dibs on that one. No. We don't have dibs on songs.
Come on, guys.
You can listen to it at the same time.
Caring. We're all, more than 6 years old here. We can share.
I love that song too. That song is like, it's so epic. Like when I put it on in the car, it's just like you feel like you're going to do something epic with your life. It's so good.
So there's this one in you guys remember Jackpot, Chung Eun-suk's drama from a couple of years ago. 2 years ago,
Although I didn't watch it. But
I kind of watched half of it. And then, Yo Jin-gu was in that as well.
I read the recaps and it was depressing.
Well, I ended up not finishing it, but there was this one song in it which just, it keeps coming to like whenever I type in YouTube, it's like it's there at the top, and I see it, and I'm like, oh, and it's When Time Stops, by Park Won-kyu, and also it's interesting that it's this particular artist as well, because one of my other sort of stuck in my head ones is also by him, from Princess's Man, and I can't remember the name of the actual song, but I'll send you guys links. I've got one more. In this is like a classic, Delightful Girl Chunyang.
Emergency Room?
No. The one.
Because I love Emergency Room.
Goodbye, My Friend. I can't remember what the actual title of the song is right now, but I'll send you guys links, so and everyone else can find it.
That's a good sound.
I really like that one.
Delightful Girl Chunyang is a good soundtrack. Emergency Room is one of my. I actually think I have the whole song memorized in Korean. I can sing it at the noraebang. I love the song.
I remember first. Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I remember the first time I felt I was inspired to actually learn lyrics. Like the first song that made me want to look at the lyrics and learn them was, Jaywalking in Shut Up Flower Boy Band.
Oh,
that was the first
all the
time.
music from that drama is good. Like you can't pick one song. That whole soundtrack is amazing. For me, the first song that I really fell in love with was "Uneasy Love" from City Hall. It's kind of their main song that expresses their relationship, but it's beautiful. Like I have most of that memorized too. And then that one has been kind of rotating on my playlist for the last 9-10 years. I also really love the song Hero from Miss Korea. It's really gorgeous.
And we can't go without mentioning Signal's. Signal had a whole bunch of really great tracks. I tend to actually like instrumentals more than songs, like the background
Signal's
music.
soundtrack was not one that you would necessarily listen to on its own.
For me, it would be.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah.
But for me, it integrated so seamlessly and perfectly with the drama. Whereas there's some songs that just as a song, it's so good, and with the drama, it's so good. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Thing is, I didn't really listen to music, so the only time I'm really exposed to it is like in dramas. So it kind of, for me, it becomes tied into this emotional experience of the drama itself. So that's why
True,
I can.
and it reminds you of like what you were
feeling at that point. Yeah.
I also really like, and this is across a lot of dramas, but Every Single Day it's a band, and they do a lot of soundtracks.
They do.
But
like
I
Hear Your Voice soundtracks.
Love what they do. Yes, I Hear Your Voice. They did a song for Pinocchio.
Yeah.
They did a song for.
They did
a
for
couple
everything.
of songs for Miss Korea that were really beautiful. They did one for My Princess that I really loved. My Princess is also a really great soundtrack. It's very like retro 80s. It's very different from a lot of the other ones, which are just very, like there's that generic rom-com sound that a lot of rom-coms have, which is fine. But then there's some shows that have like a flavor to them musically, and I always love that. Can I mention one last one? Sorry, I had a really long list. Can I mention one last? So the drama Que Sera Sera with Eric and Jung-seok has an amazing soundtrack. It's like every song is so good.
Oh, I need to watch this.
Okay, well, now I'm looking forward to the playlist we are going to create.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, honorary mention. Like I don't have too many good things to say about this drama, despite having lived with it for weeks while it was airing, which is Falsify. There was a soundtrack by Suran, or I think I'm pronouncing it right. And it was basically the only soundtrack I remembered. I don't even know if they had any other songs. But they used to play that in climactic moments. And initially, in the first few episodes, whenever they would play that, it would just like emphasize the drama of the moment really well. It was just a really good soundtrack. Mm-hmm. So that stayed with me a lot longer than the plot of the drama did.
I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't mention Baek Ji-young, who's like the OST queen, and she did and that man from that woman from Secret Garden, which was like extremely incredibly popular.
I love that. How did I forget it?
Yeah, I memorized that one too. Actually, I learned to play it on the piano because I loved it so much.
Oh wow, you did?
In a very basic way. Just
City Hunter is one of the earliest dramas I watched, right? So suddenly Kim Bok-young song, that's just, it's still so classic. And like I can randomly it will pop into my head and I'll start like humming it, knowing only about 50% of the words, or rather I know the words but I didn't know the meanings then, and now I do, so I'm like, oh wow.
Right? Weird.
It's so
funny
weird
to go back and listen to something that you just kind of used to sing along with without understanding anything, and then you suddenly understand and you're like, oh, this is a pretty good song.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And now it's like it was perfect,
But you know how you said, Saya, about background scores, like sometimes sticking out more than songs do. One of the earliest Korean dramas I'd watched was Queen Inhun's man. And do you remember that they would use this old
Yeah, I know
Koreans have
exactly
this
which one you mean.
traditional instrument like yeah, and that was the first time with Korean dramas that I mean I had loved You're Beautiful and I could hum their songs, but those were relatively generic. This one really created mood. And I had never experienced that with a drama before. So
yeah, that
stood
instrument
out
is
for me.
called a hagum, and I always love when they use it as part of
Ha.
the background score in like sagas. So it has such a beautiful and like mournful and sad, but also
It's like the sound of flowing water.
Yeah, or tinkling bangles because that's what came to my mind whenever I would hear that. I don't know why, but yeah. Wow, that went whimsical fast.
yeah. That's a good question.
It's a
So
really good
good
question.
answers to my question.
On to the penguin.
Oh, is that what we're doing now? This one is super lame as well. What do you call a happy penguin?
Happy penguin.
They get lamer by the day.
I don't even.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're going to even make be able to give this a decent guess because it's that lame. A penguin.
Penguin.
Yeah, I apologize.
Oh my. Happy Father's Day, everyone, by the way. We missed that.
Oh,
That passed in between the last one and this one. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Hope you enjoyed it with your fathers and your father figures.
And your father figures jokes. Bye, guys.
Bye.
And that's the end of this month's Long Yak. If you guys enjoyed that and wondered to yourself, how can I support these women so that they would make more of these episodes? Well, you can leave reviews in iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast, or you can also send us emails at starsinOurpocket@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at a K-Drama Podcast. And finally, before I let the outro music do its job, I want to wish a very, very happy birthday to my friends and partners in crime, Saya and Anisa. Both were born in this month, which makes it a pretty special one. Thanks for listening, guys.